Welcome to day 2 of Frontiers. Yesterday was all about product and innovation and looking ahead. Today is all about our customers, and we're so excited to have some great guests from those customers with us. Customers are the reason we do what we do, and we've been particularly proud to see what so many of our customers have been able to accomplish during the COVID-19 pandemic using Slack. So before I hand it over to Bob Frady, our SVP of Global Sales and Customer Success, let's take a look at a few of these amazing customer stories.
If you want to make a difference, you absolutely can. If you think you're alone and wanting to help, you're absolutely not. Masks for Docs is a global volunteer organization that receives donated personal protective equipment and donates it globally. We have folks in Colombia, we have folks in Mexico, New York, Los Angeles. I honestly don't know if we would have been able to get up so quickly as an organization, literally overnight, if it wasn't for Slack.
Frontline Foods raises money from the community to purchase meals from local restaurants and ultimately deliver those meals to frontline workers. Frontline Foods started out, it's people who wanted to just save restaurants, completely digitally organizing within Slack to start building and growing this operation.
The SF Build program, it's funded by the National Institutes of Health, and the idea is to increase the representation of underrepresented students in health research. Students from all over the country participated. When we went remote, getting ready for our program was a challenge. It's like how we're gonna be able to inform everyone so everyone's on the same page, and that's where Slack came in and really made our jobs a lot easier.
Overnight, we had about 200 volunteers. In a week, we had 1,000 members. We were able to utilize the bots within Slack, saying, hey, if you want to be a volunteer in the Los Angeles area, go ahead and go to the Los Angeles area chapter within Slack, or the New Orleans, or the Bogota, so that we can get those PPE out the door to our doctors, to our nurses, to our teachers. I don't know if we would have been able to do it prior to Slack being around.
The way that we set up Slack this time made me completely see the vision of not needing email for an internal team and doing everything on Slack. In a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, we went from having 30 people in our Slack workspace to I think over 700, which was just crazy. We're figuring out, okay, what are the upcoming deliveries? People are sort of doing those summaries. Here's the day ahead. That's all happening in Slack.
Our students are all across the country, so it was great having this tool. The students set up their own Slack channels to share code. They discussed their upcoming research projects, the different data sets that they had. It creates community. The focus this summer was on COVID-19 research, its impact on health disparities. The idea behind our program is, in order to reduce these health disparities that we see, is to recruit people who come from those communities.
We've been able to distribute over 100,000 pieces of personal protective equipment globally. We have over 5,000 volunteers within our organization.
We raised $10 million that went directly back to restaurants. We have served over 500,000 meals to frontline workers.
I'm so proud to be a part of Masks for Docs. It's something that I am probably going to put down as one of the best moments in my life to say, you know, we created this, we made impact, and we're still going.
Wow, what an incredible story and inspirational team. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Robert Frady, Senior Vice President of Sales and Customer Success here at Slack. The last 6 months have been trying times for all of us. As we just saw, the global pandemic has affected every aspect of our lives, our families, our communities, and of course, how we work. It hasn't been easy, and it's still challenging. Work has changed dramatically for all of us, and our perspectives about how work is done have also changed. How can we all succeed in this new normal? Fortunately, you, our customers, are showing us the way. I'm thrilled to have 2 customers here with me today, Lyft and Arizona State University, to share their personal experiences and perspectives. But first, let's go back to March, just 6 months ago. As the pandemic began to unfold, your company and ours realized that we had to pivot, and pivot fast. We all needed to keep our employees safe, shift to remote work, no matter where our employees were based, and enable productivity with secure tools and technology, and perhaps most challenging of all, maintain morale and give teams a new way to collaborate. So what did we do? We made some incremental moves, and it helped, but soon we realized we needed a bolder shift to an adaptive playbook and to a digital office. Well, guess what? Our customers embraced Slack to navigate these challenges. Our global messaging traffic increased more than 100% year over year. This initial spike during shelter in place shows two things. Existing users increased their reliance on Slack, and a surge of new organizations came to Slack. Legacy tools simply could not keep up. This trend is just the beginning of the shift to the digital office, with Slack at the center of this transformation. In fact, new data shows that employees' expectations have fundamentally changed. A recent global survey of more than 9,000 knowledge workers found that less than 12% want to return to working full-time in the office. At the same time, only 16% want to remain remote. The overwhelming majority, a whopping 72%, want a hybrid approach of something in between. We have to adapt. It's no longer if we need to work differently, but how. In speaking to some of our most innovative and successful customers, they're actively driving these three best practices. First, these customers acted early. They moved fast and embraced a digital headquarters over a physical one. Second, they promoted asynchronous work to maximize productivity. Modern work requires a reliable record of discussions, decisions, and data, accessible anytime, anywhere, across functions, across time zones and geographies. And third, they connected their people, their partners, and their systems in one secure, channel-based platform. Slack enabled them to stay agile and keep their teams aligned, even as priorities shifted. When all of this is taken together, these best practices form a fundamentally adaptive and resilient playbook, and one that has a very clear business impact, a workforce that's engaged, that's productive, and that's aligned. So independent of industry, region of the world, or size, we're all facing similar challenges. And Slack is helping companies of all types, from IBM and Oracle in technology to Verizon and NTT Docomo in telecommunications, and from the US Department of Veteran Affairs and UK Ministry of Justice and Government to ASU, MIT, and Kende University in education. Organizations around the world are coming together in Slack and utilizing the platform as their adaptive digital headquarters. One exciting example is TD Ameritrade, a large retail trading and investment company. They have nearly 10,000 employees, over 13 million client accounts, and more than $1.5 trillion in assets. They rapidly transitioned to a digital office when the pandemic hit, and they showed an agility that's rare for a company of its size and complexity. Behind the scenes, TD Ameritrade had been investing in continuous innovation for years. In 2018, leaders announced plans for a new digital workplace, one that enabled employees to access information and software tools anytime, anywhere. At the core of this initiative was Slack, which they chose over other collaboration platforms, including one that came bundled with existing software. So fast forward to COVID-19. This foundation, Slack, plus a commitment to digital innovation, empowered TD Ameritrade to shifted to 100% fully remote workforce in just 10 days. And engagement within this expanded digital headquarters only continues to deepen. Employees now send over 440,000 messages daily, not monthly, not weekly, every day. And these aren't just greetings, hello, how you doing, what's up? Teams and individuals are sharing vital information, project updates, announcements, files, and much more. So for example, before Slack, the retail team's org-wide emails had only a 50% readership rate. But when the department moved that information into a Slack channel, that readership rate skyrocketed to 99%. As TD Ameritrade shows, with each step you take towards a more modern digital office with intuitive tools that employees actually want to use, an increasingly agile and engaged workforce follows. Multinational bank HSBC also executed a very rapid pivot during the pandemic, shifting to remote work and expanding their Slack usage beyond product development teams. Like many other companies during the pandemic, HSBC quickly recognized that asynchronous communication is the key to productivity. It's no longer feasible to wait for everyone to be in the same room at the same time, virtual or otherwise, in order to make progress. Today, employees can work asynchronously in Slack, ensuring everyone can interact and engage with the same content, whether they start the day in Stockholm or in San Francisco. And they're seeing swift adoption to this new way of working. Once the company went remote, Slack usage rose 30% for active users, and daily messages shot up by 80%, all within the first month. At HSBC, there's recognition that agility is the new scale, and that a secure, channel-based platform is foundational to success. Strides like these aren't limited to companies of HSBC's scale. Did anyone here catch the fantastic session with Splunk yesterday? Well, in case you missed it, Splunk produces software that helps companies get more value out of their data. They've quickly grown to 35 offices around the world with over 6,000 employees. Splunk has kept their sales teams aligned to goals and as customer-focused as ever. A key tool for them is Slack Connect, our secure business network where you can bring customers and external partners directly into Slack channels. Before Slack Connect, the extended Splunk team wasted valuable time using legacy tools like email and phone to develop multiple proofs of concept for prospective customers, sometimes up to a dozen at a time. It didn't work very well with the legacy toolset. Email and phone simply could not move at the pace customers expected. Sales leaders share that shifting to Slack Connect is making a huge impact. It's driving faster and more deal cycles, higher win rates, and importantly, increased customer satisfaction. So at the end of the day, happy Splunk and happy customers, it's a big win-win. Now, Splunk isn't alone. We're seeing Slack Connect usage spike everywhere as part of this new playbook. We now have 380,000 endpoints connected globally. That's up more than 200% year over year. And over 52,000 customers using Slack Connect, up 160% year over year. In short, Slack Connect is changing the game. It extends the flexibility of channel-based messaging well beyond your four walls. Teams are now more aligned, making it far easier to adjust quickly and easily. Another innovator in their space is Lyft. They're rolling out their own unique adaptive playbook based on these same principles. Let's take a closer look. Lyft was founded to improve people's lives with the world's best transportation. It's now available to 95% of the US and parts of Canada. Lyft is committed to effecting positive change for our cities and making cities more livable for everyone by promoting transportation equity through shared rides, bike share, electric scooters, and public transport partnerships. Let's take a look at how employees behind these amazing programs align to bring them to life. Lyft has standardized on Slack as its enterprise-wide collaboration tool across all 4,500 employees, showcasing best-in-class usage. On a daily basis, employees from legal to sales to engineering exchange over 350,000 messages and over 11,000 files. That's each and every day. They're highly engaged. And beyond engagement, user sentiment is extremely positive. Users are loving Slack. It's great to see this excitement. We see it time and time again. Because Slack has such strong organic adoption, it creates a shift in communications and in engagement. Lyft is also taking advantage of Slack as a platform. They're integrating key applications like PagerDuty, Salesforce, Workday, and Zendesk right into Slack. They also have built over 100 custom applications. So as one example, their engineering teams submit, review, and deploy code to production hundreds of times every day, right in Slack, never wasting time by needing to switch from application to application. Like many of our customers, Lyft transitioned to remote work back in March, and employees immediately turned to Slack as their digital workplace. Employees who were once in the same offices were suddenly scattered across multiple time zones and working environments. Yet they're eager to stay aligned with priority initiatives broadly across the company. Lyft founders John and Logan recognized this craving for digital headquarters and began running a weekly Ask Me Anything session in Slack. They wanted to give employees the chance to hear directly from leadership on a regular basis on topics that were important to them. They still run these popular weekly AMAs to consistently engage with employees. Since shifting to remote work, Lyft has also doubled down on what they call their 3P framework. On a bi-weekly basis, leaders across over 350 teams at Lyft share out their 3Ps: progress, plans, and problems in a public company-wide Slack channel. What was once in a series of fragmented emails, newsletters, post-it notes is now aggregated into a single source of truth for all employees, enabling them to stay engaged, productive, and aligned with their teammates. The feedback has been incredible. In a recent Lyft survey, over 90% of employees found this framework valuable. To hear more about this exciting story, I'm delighted to welcome Amy Farrow, the CIO of Lyft. Amy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Bob. I'm excited to share a little bit more about Lyft's story.
Amy, it sounded like you had a bit of a head start with your cloud-first strategy and your unique corporate values. But we're seeing that COVID-19 has brought on an acceleration of digital transformation in many companies, and it's certainly been talked about here at Frontier. So I'd love to hear more about your perspective on where Lyft is on that journey of digital transformation and how you think about some of the implications across supporting technologies.
Yeah, it's absolutely accelerating it. We don't really have a choice, which is, I think, why it's a key topic here. Transformation itself is more about people than about technology, and that thinking ultimately shapes kind of every aspect of how we approach it. Employee engagement is important. You could argue now more than ever. Organizations and cultures are being tested. Leaders are finding new ways to lead during this time. Employee creativity and employee productivity, employee growth, and ultimately delivering outcomes for the business are all critical drivers of engagement. And so our roadmap really puts them at the center. An important aspect of enabling that is really building business agility, but it's also built really on a foundation of communication. And our communication and community building mechanism, the office, was turned off overnight. And so we're ultimately trying to recreate and reimagine creating community and enabling communication and collaboration in the digital world.
I know that Lyft is doing some really unique things to drive engagement and alignment. So maybe it'd be valuable to share some words of wisdom and some of the things that Lyft is doing around the areas of engagement and alignment and kind of transformation.
So I'll share three. The first one is really built in the belief that transparent, real-time communication, I think, between leaders and employees during a time like this is really important. So Logan and John, our co-founders, ultimately continue to, and have done since March, lead a weekly Ask Me Anything on Slack that enables any employee in the company to ask them a question and ultimately get a pretty real, unscripted answer. And I think given all the uncertainty in 2020, that has really helped boost engagement and really create a connection across the company. Other leaders have followed suit in creating a similar model, including myself. The second one, referenced earlier, our 3P communication framework, is a really powerful way that we set context across our work and our progress on that work across all levels of the company, from the CEO to the team delivering the work on the ground. And then last, a lot of initiatives that we work on at Lyft require significant cross-company collaboration. And a great example from recent times is our recent bike launch in Portland in September. Our TPM team led that collaboration and launch through Slack across over 120 people within the company. So that's a great example of one of many of how we use it for very large-scale initiatives across many people in the organization.
That's fantastic. I love those examples. You talked about how all these things are aligned, but the concept of alignment of the team being a prerequisite for productivity and agility, and then those directly driving business outcomes. Could you share a little bit around kind of why you chose Slack at Lyft, and what were some of the key differentiators that drove that decision?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So I'll say, I've been at Lyft over 4 years. During that time, we've grown, pretty dramatically at a pretty fast pace. And there are side effects of that. I think a few of which we saw were proliferation of tools. And that proliferation of tools ultimately caused some fragmentation of communication. And in the spirit of kind of the prior points we've talked about, alignment and team and communication, we ultimately wanted to standardize on and centralize a communication hub. And ultimately chose Slack as that option for us based on a couple things. First, efficiency. We wanted to make sure that we would enable our team's velocity. Second, scalability. We needed to ensure that the solution would grow with our team and our team's growing needs. Three, we ultimately needed analytics. We wanted to understand and deeply know and be able to see the impact and the usage, and if it was having the outcomes that we were looking for. And last, we wanted to ensure that it was something that we would continue to get strong adoption on. And we had a strong contingent of team members within the company who were already engaging in a daily basis on Slack. So ultimately, we wanted to go where the people were and amplify the communication that they were already leveraging to do their best work.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing that, and continue to push the envelope with us to do everything we can to support you. But congratulations on all your success. Well, we've talked a little bit about kind of some things that have happened historically. I know that you've got a lot of things on the agenda as well. Maybe it'd be fun to talk about some of the things that you think about when you look to the future.
The thing that I am most passionate about is ultimately enabling the concept of asynchronous first work. We lived through eras of mobile first. In my opinion, leading with asynchronous first means that no matter what workforce strategy you have, be it in office, hybrid, or fully remote, leading with asynchronous first for us is aligned with some of our most strategic goals around enabling a diverse workforce and really continuing to cultivate an inclusive culture. With asynchronous work, the work shines, and that's what I'm most excited about, because I can't imagine a more interesting or challenging time to lead through this change.
I think we should probably wrap here. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences and your perspectives with us, Amy. It's been super valuable. Take care, Amy. Thank you very much. All right, those were some amazing insights from Amy. Let's switch gears for a minute to a different industry. If there's one industry that's on the minds of parents across the world right now, it's education. And whether that's kindergartners on Zoom or navigating completely new approaches to college, the pandemic has forced education to transform. ASU is a top-ranked public research university with 5,000 faculty members and 120,000 students, all spread across 800 academic programs. Simply put, it's a massive operation. But it's one that consistently puts the student at the center of the university experience. Their strong reputation is reinforced by one of the highest enrollment retention rates in the country and the recognition of being the #1 most innovative school for the 6th straight year by US News and World Report. Like many of our customers, Slack usage at ASU began organically. Pockets of users from across ASU were drawn to the flexibility of engaging students from anywhere within a central communication tool. The University Technology Office noticed the impact Slack was having on engagement within the learning community. They made the decision to go all in with Slack as their digital campus for students, faculty, and staff. ASU committed to the digital campus well before the pandemic hit, giving them a head start in keeping their community engaged, productive, and aligned, even as uncertainty surrounded the start of the academic year for most colleges and universities. They've quickly ramped up to more than 28,000 weekly active users in Slack. But beyond logins, there's super high engagement. Only a month into courses, and ASU is exchanging over 830,000 messages weekly across student, administration, and faculty, and they're extending collaboration beyond their campus with Slack Connect. They're working with vendors, researchers, and peer schools in over 100 shared channels. And students and professors are loving Slack. Check out this quote. "Through Slack, I felt more involved and connected than I ever felt in any college course." Just take a pause and take that in. It's super rewarding and incredible to hear that feedback. So to best equip students with the tools of tomorrow's workforce, ASU provides a digital backpack to each Sun Devil. This is complete with Zoom, Slack, Dropbox, G Suite, and Adobe. Many of the same tools they'll need to navigate post-graduation. And it's way cooler than the backpack I had when I was in college. Slack is the platform that brings all of these tools together for ASU's modern digital campus. And professors are doubling down on Slack as an instructional platform at ASU. Professors are guiding a hybrid learning experience in workspaces dedicated to each course. They seed discussions, they hold office hours and channels, and the community stays engaged with informal channels like Hallway, while designated help channels empower students to share information and benefit from each other's knowledge. From student engagement to scalable teaching strategies, ASU is advancing inclusivity and innovation across the Sun Devil community and well beyond. All right, to hear more about this incredible story at Arizona State University, I'm delighted to welcome Lev Gonik, the CIO at ASU. So Lev, first off, to start, huge thank you for joining us today. It's much appreciated. And also, huge congratulations. I understand ASU has been recognized as the #1 university in innovation for the 6th straight year. So huge congratulations.
Thanks, Bob, and great to be with you and everyone at Frontiers this year.
All right, well, on the theme of innovation, would you be willing to share a little bit more with the audience about how you're driving innovation at Arizona State University, especially during such a period of growth and change?
ASU's innovation story is remarkable. I think, as you know, Bob, you and Stuart and the whole team, you all start with culture. And I have to say, ASU's innovation DNA is also core to our culture, and very much starts with our charter to support access for learners and their success. And it supports all the research activity that we're so well known for in terms of our innovation. From, at the core of our innovation commitment is using all the technology and all of the culture of innovation to address and to support student success at the country's largest public institution.
That's fantastic. I know you talk a lot about the community, right? The extended community around ASU and how you're on the leading edge and setting trends across a number of fronts. How did you come across Slack? How did you decide to use Slack? And what were some of the differentiators that stood out for you?
Well, interestingly enough, as the CIO, I'd like to take all the credit. But if I'm going to be honest with you and honest with the Frontiers viewers, I'm going to tell you the truth, which is the CIO finally caught up with where the community was already at. As you've just shown, there was enormous organic interest in Slack for collaboration at ASU. There were literally tens of thousands of users inside many of the different either free options or low-cost options. And when I began looking at how to think about collaboration, I realized that student engagement, learner engagement, really, we hadn't really thought about how to support that in an online environment. So it turns out, at least from my vantage point, that learning engagement and collaboration platform, combined with the fact that so many students in particular were already using Slack, made it actually a really easy decision for the CIO to begin engaging with the Slack team in San Francisco to begin thinking about, have you ever thought about this higher education marketplace? So now 2 out of every 3 classes at ASU actually has a Slack workspace, which is unbelievable when you think where we were 2 years ago when, again, students were there, but our faculty needed to seize the opportunity. And I think credit to our faculty, we've had hundreds of them come through various boot camps and orientations on how to use Slack for learning.
That's amazing. I mean, I've seen some of the quotes from the professors and the students, and they're really inspirational. And it's rewarding to be a small part of that. So credit to you and the extended team for the innovation there. This is an interesting one. 72% of folks in the corporate world, knowledge workers, are looking for a hybrid environment. Not back full in the office, not fully remote, but a hybrid. And you talked a little bit about that. How are you seeing that kind of materialize at ASU?
At ASU, we're of the view that actually the modalities of instruction, which include, of course, on-campus, ASU's online offering, and now ASU Sync, which is live remote, is going to be with us forever. The market of students and their families has spoken. They, as you just shared, they very much want to have choice. And one of the choices that many students want to have is to be able to not only be able to choose either online or live in the classroom, but also this ASU Sync, and know that no matter how they engage in that learning modality, they're going to have a common collaboration platform in Slack, which not only helps them with their instruction and hopefully their student success, but now all of the student clubs are in Slack. Now all of the processes associated with the student life on campus are enabled through Slack. At ASU, Bob, we're up 23% year over year on students online, and on campus we're up 7%. So we're counter-cyclical, and part of it, we're pretty sure, has to do with the way we've responded to the COVID crisis with choice to the customer.
That's amazing. Well, thanks for sharing that story, and congratulations on all the continued innovation there. Maybe carrying that theme forward, what words of wisdom would you have for some of your peers as they embark on this digital transformation broadly, and then even maybe specifically as they look to deepen their usage of Slack?
Yeah, I think that in the question facing CIOs, the traditional question has been, what do you attribute to the success of your digital transformation? Was it you, the CIO? Was it your relationship to the CEO? Or was it COVID? And it turns out COVID is actually the answer for most CIOs. That is to say, those who are taking advantage of what is truly a human crisis. And the point is that digital transformation, which has always been our holy grail as technology leaders, is oftentimes been sort of seen in 3 to 5 year kinds of cycles. At least our experience at ASU has been that we've actually been able to contract that into 3 to 5 months, a significant, obviously, acceleration of that effort. And if you embrace the opportunity to actually be bold with your other business partner leads to actually design a path forward which focuses in on coming out stronger at the other end of this particular chapter, then I think not only have CIOs sort of earned the right to be at the table, but being seen significantly more than just being a cost center. Using Slack is an example of the way in which we can become strategic to learning success, strategic to student involvement, to staff involvement when we have tens of thousands of employees of the university working remotely. Slack has been the platform for continuous engagement.
That's amazing. You hit on some really a ton of key themes there, but two that stand out to me is, you talk about efficiency gains and system automation and the technology components, but then you also talk about the human components, the engagement, the community building, and the human side. And when you can bring those two things together to drive business outcomes or education outcomes, that's amazing. Well, maybe a good place to kind of wrap up, I think, is we talked a lot about kind of some amazing things you've done. What are some of the things most top of mind for you and you're most excited about as you look towards the future?
Well, certainly, the idea of collaboration being a fundamental building block, separate from sort of the old style communication like one to many. Collaboration platform, it seems to me, is the fundamental new bedrock upon which now we're going to continue to build additional value. And at ASU, we're focused really in on how to take advantage of that collaborative platform. Again, in our case, it's very much all about Slack, to create additional pathways for student success. We're working on digital portfolios and blockchain. We're working on students being able to do storytelling through the collaboration platform as a huge part of the ability to be authentic in not only being able to go through the journey of education in a genuine fashion, but also to be able to take an artifact of that and add it to your transcript so that whether you're interviewing at Slack or going on to graduate school, you actually have a story to tell, which is, we hope, going to give our students some advantage in the marketplace and in the workforce of the future, which we know is going to look much different than the one that you and I certainly began our careers in.
That's fantastic. Well, Lev, I mean, so there's so much to love there, from inclusivity and diversity all the way through kind of how you're changing the professor experience, across the administration and the extended community. I love the focus on the student experience and how you're pulling that all together. So I just want to wrap again, congratulating you on all your success and innovation, wishing you all the best for the future, and thanks so much for joining us today. It's greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Bob. Great to be with you.
All right, take care, Lev. We've heard so many incredible stories today. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Lev. Huge thanks to all of our customers who shared their stories today. You're all showing us a new way forward. As we've all witnessed firsthand, the world has changed. We need a new, adaptive playbook that reflects our new reality. We've crossed a chasm, and we're not going back. So in closing, thank you very much for tuning in today. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you so much for being here with us at Slack Frontiers. There's still great breakout sessions to come today, and if you missed any of the breakouts yesterday, they're available on demand now. If you haven't yet, make sure you do a consultation, see a demo, check out the Slack Frontiers workspace. Thank you again so much for being here and joining us at Slack Frontiers, and enjoy the rest of your day.